Yo, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to do a listening comprehension exercise for beginners. So this video is about why do Spanish people call Americans gringos. So we're going to go through it line by line. Pause the video when you need to, replay it, slow it down, do whatever you need to. I'm just going to go line by line and then I'm going to explain what she said and some of the rules behind it and whatever comes to my mind. So let's get into it.
Hoy vamos a hablar de una palabra.
Okay, so try and guess what she said. Hoy vamos a hablar de una palabra. So hoy means today. Vamos a hablar is the same construction that we use in English when we want to say what we're going to do in the future. So in English, we use the verb to go. This is the infinitive, the unconjugated form. And if you want to conjugate it, the conjugations are for each subject are I go, you go, he, she goes, we go, they go, you all go. Now, as you can tell in English, there's really only one outstanding conjugation, whereas in Spanish, the verb is ir, and it's conjugated as follows. Yo voy, tú vas, él, ella va, nosotros vamos, ellos van, ustedes van. So it's a lot more diverse than the conjugations in Spanish. That's the case for every verb, and it is what it is. You just have to memorize them. So, vamos is talking about we. Right? Nosotros vamos. So vamos a. So now I was saying it's the same thing in English. When we want to say what we're going to do, we would say, we're going to speak, let's say. It's the same thing in Spanish. Vamos. So this is ir, conjugated for we. And then to speak, a hablar. So if I wanted to say, I'm going to speak, it would be yo voy a hablar. So notice this is the infinitive, and this is the infinitive. So that's why I say it's the same thing in English and Spanish. Conjugate to go, and then add this a, and then the infinitive. And that's how you can say something that you're going to do in the future. So I'll go to the store. Voy a ir a la tienda. So you can, this is basically using ir twice in a row. I'm going to go. I'll go to the store, aka I'm going to go to the store. Voy a ir a la tienda. So that's a way to say something that you're going to do in the future. So hoy vamos a hablar de una palabra is today. We're going to speak about or talk about a word. Palabra means word.
La palabra gringo. ¿Qué es un gringo?
So there she said la palabra gringo. ¿Qué es un gringo? So the word gringo. What is a gringo? Es comes from the verb ser, and the conjugations are yo soy, tú eres, él, ella, it es, nosotros somos, ustedes son, ellos son. Now, this one right here, he, she, it, there is no word for it in Spanish. So if you wanted to say, what is it? You would just say, ¿qué es? There's no ¿qué es it? It's just ¿qué es? It's just implied that you're talking about it. If you want to say, it is cute, es lindo. So there's no it. But if you want to say, she is cute, then you could throw in the subject. Ella es linda. And you don't need that though. You could just say es linda, and it would be understood that you're talking about her.
o una gringa? Un gringo es una persona de Estados Unidos.
Un gringo es una persona de Estados Unidos. So, a gringo is a person, una persona, from the United States.
En algunos países de Latinoamérica como México, Chile, Colombia, las personas llaman gringos a la gente de Estados Unidos.
Okay, let me see if I can remember everything she just said. En algunos países de Latinoamérica, como Colombia, México, Argentina, las personas llaman... Okay, I don't remember what she said.
Llaman gringos a la gente de Estados Unidos. Pero
Okay, so
Colombia, las personas llaman gringos a...
okay, yeah. So what she said there is en is in, algunos. So algún is some, algunos is some, plural. So like if you're thinking when would some be singular? If you want to say let's go to some place, vamos a algún lugar. So this is singular, place. If you wanted to say let's go to some places, then it would be vamos a algunos lugares. So in this case, she's saying países, which is plural. So if you don't know what países are, look at what she's talking about. Look at the map. Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, those are all countries. So país is country. So in some countries, in some Latino American countries, Latin American countries, like the one she mentioned, people, so las personas. In English you wouldn't say the, I mean you could say the people, but yeah, we would just say people. Sorry, I don't know why my nose is so itchy. People call gringos, Las personas llaman gringos a la gente de Estados Unidos is a different sentence structure than we would use in English. So I'll directly translate it first and then we'll reorder it. So the people call gringos to the people of USA. So la gente is people. La gente is people. Las personas is also people. One thing that used to trip me up is I misspelled gente. La gente is singular. Even though you're referring to people, which is like multiple, you can't say una gente. That it wouldn't make sense. It's la gente. Like you can't say a people in English. But yes, so if you're ever talking about like the people of Colombia are nice, you would say la gente de Colombia are is the verb to be. And we're saying their inherent characteristic. So is it estar or ser? Inherent characteristic is for ser. So the conjugations are yo soy, tú eres, él, ella es, nosotros somos, ustedes son, ellos son. So you'd think the people of Colombia are nice. That's they are. Let me do all these conjugations. I am, you are, he, she is, we are, and you all or you guys are, and they are. So in English, we use the plural. The people of Colombia are nice. Right? They are nice. So you might think la gente de Colombia son amables. But that's actually wrong because la gente is singular. Ellos, they, is plural. So in English, the people is plural. In Spanish, la gente is singular. So which one would you use of these? These are the singular ones. Nosotros is plural, we. Ustedes is plural, you guys. And ellos is plural. So it's not any of these. It's obviously not I. The people of Colombia are not me. The people of Colombia are not you. The people of Colombia then are third person singular, he, she. Doesn't make sense to us English speakers, but that's how people is used. You have to use the singular conjugation. So la gente de Colombia es amable. Again, this would also be singular, amable. So hopefully that makes sense. But if you wanted to use las personas, then it would be all plural. Las personas de Colombia son amables. So if to make it easier, maybe just use las personas, but just be aware that la gente works that way. So to reword this, the people call gringos the people of USA. Basically, she's saying people call people from the USA gringos. Las personas llaman gringos a la gente de Estados Unidos. So you'll get used to the sentence structure with more and more exposure, especially using listening comprehension exercises.
La gente de Estados Unidos. Pero, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué en estos países no decimos estadounidenses?
There she says, pero ¿por qué? ¿Por qué en estos países no decimos estadounidenses? So she's saying, but, pero is but, very common word. Why? Why in, so esto means this, eso means that. So estos is plural, so these. Estos is these. So why in these countries, notice plural as well, it's not just país. Why in these countries, decimos. So this comes from the verb decir, which means to say or to tell. Yo digo, tú dices, él, ella dice, nosotros decimos. So she's saying, why do we not say like American? Now, one thing you might notice, when we ask a question in English, oftentimes the word do is there. Why in these countries do we not say American? In Spanish, there's no question word do. Do you like cheese? ¿Te gusta queso? There's no do. Okay, so just putting that out there in case you're wondering where is this do. This do is different from the verb to do, like to actually do something. Even in English, right? This is just a question word. This is a way we form a question in English. In Spanish, you just need a question mark. And that's why they have question marks at the beginning, the upside down question mark at the beginning of a question in Spanish, is because they don't have a question word to directly indicate that it's a question. So in Spanish, with that upside down question mark at the beginning, you know from the start of the sentence that it's going to be a question. Whereas in English, we have the word do.
¿Por qué decimos gringos? En realidad, no sabemos muy bien, pero...
¿Por qué decimos gringos? En realidad, no sabemos muy bien. Pero, and then she went on. So she's saying, why do we say gringos? That was a question. In reality, sabemos comes from the verb saber, to know. Yo sé, with this accent. Tú sabes, él, ella sabe, nosotros sabemos, ustedes saben, ellos saben. One pattern you've hopefully noticed by now, whether a verb is AR, ER, or IR, is that the to form ends with S. I'm talking about the present tense right now. S. The he, she, it form is the same as the to form without the S. And then the ustedes and ellos end with N. And the nosotros ends with mos. So, in reality, we don't know very well. Muy is very, and bien is well. But, and then let's see what she says.
Hay varias hipótesis, varias explicaciones.
Hay varias hipótesis, varias explicaciones. Hay is a very common word, which means there are, or there is. So whether it's plural or singular, you say hay in Spanish. If you want to say there is, a car, it's hay un carro. If you want to say there are cars, hay unos carros. The I doesn't change. Whether it's there is or there are, it's I. But cars does. So there are various hypotheses, various explanations.
En este video voy a darte 3 explicaciones diferentes.
En este video voy a darte 3 explicaciones diferentes. In this video, so remember how saying esto is this? There's 3 ways to say this in Spanish. Esto, este, or esta. Esto is if you're referring to masculine. Este is if you're referring to masculine. Something masculine, and I'll explain what that means. Esta is if it's feminine. So if you want to say this is good, you would say esto es bueno. It would be esto. Okay, but if the thing you're referring to is masculine, whatever it is, like this car is good, esto es bueno. Okay, what if you wanted to actually specifically specify the car? This car is good. Then you would say este carro es bueno. So when you're kind of in general referring to it, it's esto, when it's not specific. But when you're specifically referring to the thing, este whatever is good. If it's a masculine thing, you use este. Whereas with esta, let's say the thing you're talking about is something feminine, I don't know, casa, una casa. Esta es buena. This one is good. Or this is good. If you specifically say the house, this house is good, doesn't change anything. Esta casa es buena. So esta is easy. Whether you're specifically referring to the thing or not, it's esta. But esto, if you're saying like the thing itself, este teléfono, este carro, then you say este. But if it's just general, you're not specifying, esto es bueno. Esto me gusta. I like this. Esto me gusta. I like this car. How would you say that? I like this car is este carro me gusta. So you'll get used to that. Why is it that way? I don't know. It just is. You'll get used to it. So in this video, remember the voy that comes from the verb ir? So yo voy, tú vas, él va, etc. So I'm going to, whenever you see ir plus a is something in the future tense. I'm going to darte. Dar is the verb to give. Dar is to give. Darte is to give you. So in this video, I'm going to give you 3, I don't know why I put a comma there, did I? Or is that just something on my screen? No, I did. 3 explanations, 3 different explanations. Okay.
La explicación número 1 tiene que ver con la guerra. Estados Unidos.
How did she word it? Sorry.
La explicación número.
La explicación número 1 tiene que ver.
1 tiene que ver con la guerra.
Con la guerra. So the first explanation, number 1, tener que ver has to do. Tener que ver con has to do with. Okay, this is just a very common phrase. The literal translation of tener que ver is to have. Okay, tener is to have. To see. So it doesn't make that much sense in English because we say to have to do with. So when 2 things are related, we say one thing has to do with the other. In Spanish, they say one thing has to see with the other, which kind of makes sense, like whatever. Either way. So just remember it's tener que ver, and you conjugate the tener, and you leave this unconjugated, the ver. So it has to do with la guerra, the war. So if you ever heard the word guerrero, that means warrior. It comes from the word guerra. But explanation number 1 has to do with the war. How do I know it's it? Well, because we take the conjugation, the verb tener, we take its conjugations. Yo tengo, tú tienes, él, ella tiene, nosotros tenemos, ustedes tienen, ellos tienen. So it's clearly not, it's tiene, so it can only be él, ella, which is he, she, it has. And remember, there's no word for it in Spanish. So she's saying explanation number 1, that's not a guy, that's not a girl, that's an it. So it has to do with the war. The first explanation, it has to do with the war.
Estados Unidos y México estuvieron en guerra.
Estados Unidos y México estuvieron en guerra. The United States and Mexico in war. What is estuvieron? This is the past tense, the preterite of the verb estar. So, yo estuve, these are the past tense conjugations in the preterite. Yo estuve, so you can see how important, like almost everything comes down to just knowing the verb conjugations, hence why it's the biggest thing to focus on. Tú estuviste, él, ella estuvo, nosotros estuvimos, ellos, or ustedes, sorry, I feel like I have to sneeze. Estuvieron, ellos estuvieron. I'm getting sick, that's why I keep drinking water, and you can probably hear it in my voice. So, they were in war. Why is it they? Because we're talking about 2 things, USA and Mexico, plural. And we're not saying you guys, hey, you, Mexico and USA, you guys were in war, which is ustedes. We're not saying USA and Mexico, like we. It wouldn't be the USA and Mexico estuvimos en guerra. Now, if you said something like mi país y México, no, you still have to say estuvieron. I'm trying to think if there's a way to use estuvimos. Yeah, whatever. Anyways, I don't want to confuse you, but this means the USA and Mexico were at war.
En 1846.
1846. Okay, let's break that down. Mil equals 1,000. Ocho equals 8. Cien equals 100. 40 equals 40. Seis equals 6.
Algunas personas dicen que los soldados de Estados Unidos llevaban un uniforme de color verde.
Algunas personas dicen que los soldados de Estados Unidos llevaban un uniforme de color verde. I think that's what she said.
Un uniforme de color verde.
So, algún, remember, means some. Algunos is some masculine plural. Algunas is some feminine plural. Some people say that the American soldiers, llevar is the verb. This is a very versatile verb in Spanish. It doesn't do justice to say it just means to carry, but that's one of the conjugations, or to take. So in this case, it's to wear, right? Like they carried a uniform, or they wore a uniform. Wore a uniform de color verde. What color is verde? It's green. They wore a green uniform.
O green en inglés. Verdes, green. Hay
Green in English.
personas que dicen que los mexicanos gritaban, gringo home, gritaban.
Hay algunas personas que dicen que los mexicanos gritaban green, go home. Remember, I means there is or there are. Okay, so there are some people that say that the Mexicans, gritar is the verb to yell. In this case, it's conjugated in the past tense in the imperfect. So there's two past tenses in Spanish. There's the imperfect, which is for things you habitually used to do. So used to do. And the preterite when you're referring to a specific moment. So she's talking about how the Mexicans used to yell, green, go home. That's why it's gritaban. If it was the preterite, the conjugation would be gritaron. So in the previous example, when she was saying Mexico and USA were in war, she used estuvieron, which is the preterite, because she's referring back to a specific moment. Anyways, there are some people that say the Mexicans used to scream, green, go home.
¡Ah! Green, go home. A mí no me gusta gritar.
A mí no me gusta gritar. To me, so gustar is kind of its own type of verb. There's a section of like Spanish that is known as verbs like gustar. So most verbs you say like yo amo, I love, but you don't say yo gusto. This doesn't mean I like, right? You say me gusta, because verbs like gustar, basically gustar, even though it translates to I like, it really, for an English speaker, would make more sense to translate it to be pleasing to. So it is pleasing to me equals me gusta. It's pleasing to me, me, and it, this, so gusto, gustas, gusta, gustamos, gustan, gustan. Yo, tú, él, ella, or it, nosotros, ustedes, ellos. These are the conjugations. So when you're talking about you liking something, it's usually going to be gusta, me gusta. Or it could be me gustan if you're talking about multiple things. Me gusta la pizza. I like pizza. Me gustan las pizzas. I like the pizzas. I'm not going to go too in depth on this. This is if this is your first time ever being introduced to this concept, then you have every right to be confused. This is confusing, but it's its own concept that I would have to go deep into and make a video on. So I don't want to go too in depth on it. I do have a program where I have every Spanish concept basically broken down. If you are looking to kind of have someone guide you to being conversational in Spanish, you can hit the link in the description, book a call with me, and we'll see if we can work something out. But anyways, let's go back to the video.
Y con el tiempo.
Sorry, this means I don't like to scream. No me gusta gritar. The a mí is kind of redundant. You could just say no me gusta gritar. So she's saying like, to me, it is not pleasing to me to scream. A mí no me gusta. It is pleasing. Me gusta. It is not pleasing. No me gusta. Right, to me, sorry. This part is here. And then to scream, gritar. No me gusta gritar.
No me gusta gritar. Y con el tiempo, gringo home se convirtió en gringo.
Y con el tiempo, gringo home se convirtió en gringo. So this means, and with time, so not con tiempo, but con el tiempo, with the time, but we don't say the in English. So with time, gringo home was converted into gringo, aka became gringo. There's many ways to say to become in Spanish. It's not one word. In English, we just say to become. You can use the verb convertirse. If you're wondering what this se is, because this is for beginners, I'm not going to go into that right now. But again, I have that concept explained in my program, and I'm going to explain it in other videos. It's just too much to explain right now. Convertirse. You could say volverse. You could say hacerse. There's multiple ways. So in this case, you use the verb convertirse in the past tense. This is the preterite, convirtió. Okay, I know that because of this ending. This is the preterite ending. Yo convertí, or yo me convertí is I became. Okay, yo me convertí en. I converted myself into, aka I became. Tú te convertiste en. You converted yourself into, aka you became. Él, ella, or it, which there's no word for, se convirtió en. You get the pattern. I'll just keep going. Nosotros nos convertimos. Ustedes se convirtieron. And ellos convirtieron, sorry. Anyways, let's move on.
Gringo, gringo. ¿Entienden? Pero,
¿Entienden? You guys understand? Entender. This comes from the verb entender. To understand. Yo entiendo, blah, blah, blah. ustedes entienden. Those are the conjugations.
Algunas personas dicen que esta historia no es verdad.
Algunas personas dicen que esta historia no es verdad. I'm going to kind of rapid fire because I feel like it's getting quite long, this video, so I'm just going to blitz through this. So some people say that this story is not true.
Dicen que esta historia es falsa. Dicen
They say that this story is false.
que no es real.
They say that it's not real.
Y dicen que en realidad los uniformes de los soldados estadounidenses eran de color azul.
And they say that the uniforms of the soldiers, the American soldiers, were actually blue.
No eran verdes.
They weren't green.
La explicación número 2.
Okay, no eran comes from the verb ser in the past tense, in the imperfect. Yo era, I was, or I used to be. Tú eras, él era. Nosotros éramos, ustedes eran, ellos eran. So they were. They were not verde. They were not green. Their uniforms, they were not green.
Bien está relacionada con la guerra. Algunas
También está relacionada con la guerra. This one is also related to the war. Yeah, okay, I won't go into too much detail, so let's move on.
personas dicen que los soldados de Estados Unidos cantaban cantaban una canción.
Cantaban is the preterite of, or the imperfect conjugation of cantar. So they used to sing. Because cantar means to sing. And the conjugations are yo cantaba, I used to sing, tú cantabas, él, ella cantaba, nosotros cantábamos, ustedes, ellos cantaban. So they used to sing. All right, I think we're getting, it's probably been long enough, so I'm going to just kind of probably finish the video very soon. I don't think we'll go through it all because we're not even halfway through.
Una canción que se llama Green Grow the Lilacs. Green Grow the Lilacs.
Una canción que se llama Green Grow the Lilacs. This will be the last one. So a song that is called Green, whatever, Grow the Lilacs. So why is this called? So you might know that me llamo is like I call. So llamar is the verb to call. So yo llamo is I call. Yo me llamo is I call myself. Okay, the me, myself. So that's why when you say like my name is Alex, you say me llamo Alex. I call myself Alex. My name is Alex. Or me llaman Alex. They call me Alex. Right? If you're talking about a nickname, you could say me llamo Alexander, pero me llaman Alex. I am called Alexander, but they call me Alex. So se llama. So okay, tú te llamas. You call yourself. Él se llama. He calls himself. In this case, the song, it se llama. There's no word for it, so it's just se llama. A song that is called, that calls itself, or that is called Green Grow the Lilacs. So hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you reinforced some of the conjugations. And hopefully you realize the importance of learning the different conjugations. So with that said, like I mentioned earlier in the video, if you do want to take your Spanish seriously, and if you do want to just go have a path laid out in front of you and have somebody hold your hand and get you from where you are right now to being conversational in Spanish, then hit the link, book a call with me, and we'll see what we can do. Hopefully we can work together. But if not, if you want to go at it on your own, I'll keep posting videos on here, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.